Alright, so we're out here this morning. My tape came in. The first thing I need to do, or not need to do, but first thing I want to do is I'm going to pull these brackets for the slide topper off and see if I can flip that slide topper up on top of the roof, because that'll make it a lot easier to work on the top of this slide. It's interesting that if you see, there are 3 bolts only on the bracket for the that holds the slide arm, topper arm, and then they put those 2 little clips on there to help. The ones I have a taller bracket with 5 screws in them, so I think that's a good idea. Apparently they've learned their lesson that that will eventually rip itself off if they don't put that little other thing that helps on it. So that's interesting. I don't think it's going to matter. It's still going to come off. Then we're going to, when we put it back on, we're going to seal under it with some Dicor, and everything's going to be copacetic. But that's our first step this morning. The bolts are all like about a T20 Torx. What the hell? They're not. They are what appear to be a weird square drive. Okay, so I think I've got one of those. So get some bits. Alright, they appear to be a number S02 square drive. And they are just self-tappers. I don't really understand why these manufacturers are still using fasteners like this. Because, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm working on a 40-year-old motorcycle that has a bunch of Phillips head stuff and other types of screws. Okay, they did glue it, so that's good. Okay, that's gonna be fun. Yeah, because there's no good way, or easy way, or maybe there is. Yeah, and I think I got another idea. There may be a pin, a set screw in here on the back side of this where I can pop these loose and that set screw, and maybe knock this way a little bit rather than doing this, because that's really glued on there and I don't want to tear this up if I don't have to. I am surprised they didn't use Dicor on these external screws. Alright, so we're going to try that. I'm going to pop the slide out an inch or two just so I can get back there and see what we've got and see if I can do that way rather than having to take this bracket off. But I am going to pull these first. Of course you did. Screw broke. That's nice. But I'll be able to drill it out and put a new one in. Yeah, it does look like that should slide with a little bit of persuasion. once I figure out how to unhook that. So, well, nothing's easy here. This isn't screwed in, this end is riveted. So, now I've got to decide how I want to do this. I still think I'm down to back to pulling this off, putting this back in, drill this out, put a new screw in it, hook that up solid. I think what I'm going to do is you can take this and spin it backwards, and if I can tie that around this real good, it's going to keep it loose where it won't flip back and spring all over the place. That's what I think I'm going to do there. Eventually we'll get this thing off. Fixed. Okay, now back to plan 12. Okay, so I pulled the slide out until this was all the way where I wanted it. I'm going to attempt to see if I can get it to hold. Now we're going to suck the slide in a little bit and see what happens. Ah, that'll work. Good enough. Now, there's no tension on it, so I can resume trying to remove those brackets and hopefully get it up out of the way. There she goes. Eh. Yeah, they use just a bare amount of clear silicone to hold that up, and none of it was around the holes. So we're going to put some Dicor on that when we put it back together. Now on to the other side. The rivet's broken on this side, so I'll most likely drill that out and replace it with a screw. Never know what you find on these. That's what I was afraid of. I was a little afraid of that. put it on top of the sticker, but we'll deal with it. Okay, now I need to go get a couple more tie wraps and tie wrap this in this position because it wants to take the other side and spin as well, and I don't want it to do that. So, listen, tie both ends down. All right, so now that that's out of the way, I need to pull the slide out and start getting all this gunk pulled off. And this stuff's actually pretty good, but it's all bubbly. Then I need to start cleaning everything with some acetone and getting all this gunk out of here. This actually may be a Turnabond, this stuff, but we're gonna see what we can do to make it one kind of monolithic seal around this thing and try to, especially on the inside, and see what we can do. Okay, so I've gotten some of this garbage off, and there were two mediums up there, some black tape and some white tape, and I'm going to go up at the top and we'll show you what we've got. Okay, so this used to be here, and what I will say is the white tape, which I believe is actual Eternabond, the white tape sticks to everything. The white tape sticks to the black tape, the white tape sticks to the aluminum, and where the white tape touched the rubber, it stuck to the rubber. But the black tape, which obviously is put on first, is only capable of sticking to the aluminum with any kind of significant effort. It is completely detached from the rubber. So, but it's also brutally difficult to get off of the aluminum. I've had to really just razor blade this and shave it to get this stuff off to the point where I'm going to be able to clean it and get the rest of the stuff on. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm just going to run along and cut this thing on this edge of the aluminum all the way down, peel off the bad black stuff, clean that edge. I don't think there's any white tape over there, so that should be fairly quick. I'll probably do the same thing. If it's stuck to the aluminum, I'm going to leave it. Then I'm going to hit this surface with some good denatured alcohol and a scrubby, clean it up real good. Same thing in here, and prep it. I'm going to do the same thing for the rubber. I'm going to get that real clean. Then we're going to hit it with the Eternabond. But a couple of other things I've found, and what I don't know, I mean, looking at this, my guess is this is how it was from the factory. I don't know whether any of this tape, the black or the white, is how it left the factory. I'm kind of doubting it. It just doesn't look right. I'm thinking this thing's had this little issue since it was basically new, and we've been trying to fix it since. What I do see is I see a couple of missing screws. I got a broken screw head here. I got a missing screw here that doesn't even look like it's ever been put in. I don't think that's hurting anything. I don't have any countersunk screws, so I'm not going to do anything with that. But looking at this, I don't really see a significant issue with the rubber. The rubber is solid. It's there's no holes in it. There's nothing that would be leaking here, unless it was going underneath this aluminum, which you can fix that honestly with some Dicor. If you had time to wait and let it dry, you could just Dicor this seam and you would guarantee nothing would ever get under there. And as far as this one up top, I don't know, nothing you can do about it, because this is the whole frame of the outside of the unit. There's nothing you can do there. But I'm going to continue on. I think I am going to look to see if I can take a little bit of this off, just with a little hacksaw. Just take this down to create a little bit better of a channel for the water to run off before I seal it. And then we're going to try to start putting some tape down. But I also have to go inside and get in there, because that's where our issue is right in there. That's the fascia board, and that's right above the cabinets. And that gap you see is where the water goes in if it gets under this slide, because it's in this dish. So that's our main culprit, I would say. So looking at where that rubber is right there, now that I see what I'm looking at, I shouldn't have any issue with this, and then running the tape down and making that a little trough. So that's what we're going to continue doing. So as you can see, especially by this discoloration here and down there, that black stuff really didn't stick terribly well to anything but the metal. Probably because they didn't clean the rubber first, or maybe it's just not designed for that. But it's off. Don't see anything really terrible. A little bit of a breach in the rubber in there, but that's pretty minor. It's gonna end up getting covered up when I do the inside, so I'm not worried about it. Now I'm going to either start cleaning or start trying to cut my little channels. Okay, boys and girls. So while I was cutting the strip, which worked out fine, I noticed that it was moving a lot. And so when I was getting down to the end, I didn't really want to nick this rubber, which I didn't. So I just got my screw gun and pulled it off. And of course, one of the screws broke, because, of course. But there's nothing here. All this is an edge. Now, granted, everything looks good under here. I mean, oh, there's one of them big black screws that I found under the basement. So we know where those are used, and that was a present. Everything looks solid. There's no leak. The rubber is good. It's just, in order to keep this thing, I'll fix that in a minute, from building water on it, or as much, I mean, this thing here is used as a hold down, and just creates a massive lip. I'm going to save that piece, but I'm not putting it back on. I am going to do the Eternabond all the way around this corner, seal it to here, and seal it to the top, and that's going to be my corner. I think they probably do it because this is a little rough. I'll probably get in here and shave off or sand off a little bit of this wood and this fiberglass, but you know, if we get rid of that lip, we're going to eliminate a lot of the water that stands on top of this thing, or has the potential to stand on top of this thing. And as long as I run the Eternabond underneath here, and then it's going to have the one from the inside rolled over it, there's no reason it's going to get hurt. And if it does, we're going to save this, we can put it back on. Not that big a deal. But so that's my plan at the moment. But I'm impressed that this is just a loose rubber. It's not even glued down. I guess that's how they do it. I've never seen how this has been done before. But so that's the plan right now. Now we're going to start cleaning. All right, so I got both of the short ends done, and this side here had never been glued or anything. It just popped right off. I took 3 screws and it wasn't even attached. All that aluminum rail is to hold down the rubber. And you can see here, it's not even glued terribly well. And this end, you've got a pretty good gap in here, and you can see where the rubber ended. So I'm gonna get some Dicor and just pack it in this spot here, in this area, just to really seal it. And then I'm going to do the same thing on that end, and then I'm going to run my 4-inch strip all the way down to here, all the way down, and we'll be done on the outside. I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. Everything looks good. I've got this run all the way in until it touches the fascia on the inside. Then I'm going to go in and run a 4-inch strip that rolls around the fascia and covers everything. So if water does stay on this and gets in, at least it won't be able to get to the wood. It'll roll off the sides and fall onto the side of this thing on the slide and then onto the floor, but it won't be able to get to that fascia on top, which I really think is the problem here. So that's the next step. All right. The outside seals are done, and it feels good. This stuff ain't moving. Take a quick look at the other side after I move the ladder. And again, similar seal. These little bubbles were in the rubber because the factory didn't pull it tight, but she's sealed. There ain't nothing getting under that. So what I think I'm going to do now, suck the slide in a little bit, clean this up, little die-core on it in the holes, and get out there. Reattach that, re-drill this rivet on this end, and then go finish the inside with the piece that's going to roll up to the fascia. And that's the outside complete. All sealed up. I couldn't get, this rivet was annoying, but there was another hole that was free, so I just put a small self-tapper into the other hole that was there, and now that's all stable. So no flopping around there. Look at all these broken screws. Unbelievable. Really got to reduce the torque setting on their screw guns at the factory. But the outside is done. I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's going to be good shape for a long time. I'm going to save all the pieces, obviously. If we ever want to put those big angle pieces back up there, we can. I don't think it's going to be necessary. I believe this is going to seal it really good and ensure that the most water drains off the top of that thing that gets on there as possible. So now we're going to suck the slide in most of the way and go run some Durabond on the inside of the fascia. Alright, so here's what we've done in here. This was not the easiest thing in the world because of how it's set up, but what we should have is, if the water does come in, it cannot get to this thing now. It's going to run off the sides and down the side of the thing and out of the floor, which you don't want that to happen anyway. But now with the revamped sides, where it should run, more of it should run off, and the revamped back here to keep it out, hopefully that should do it for this slide. So now I'm going to move on to the next slide. That one there has never had as much of a problem, so I'm probably not going to do all that I've done here. I most likely will just do the short ends on the other slide and then the fascia. I don't think I'm going to do the entire long way on the outside of the slide, because now that I understand how that's set up and the way it's routed, I don't think that's going to be a big deal. So the big deal is in here and on those ends, getting rid of the water from getting rid of those stupid angles, and then putting the cap in here where if the water does come in, it cannot get to the wood. So that's the next plan. right, so now we've got the other slide done. Made it so that it could more easily drain water that got up there, and sealed it 100% against this fascia. But this slide, the tape is in a bit better shape. The black tape's still actually stuck to the rubber a little bit over there, so I didn't go all the way on this side because I don't believe it's necessary. Plus, with this big lip and knowing that the rubber actually comes up and over that, right underneath the angle, that one's going to be pretty good. But as far as inside, we are sealed. So it's not going to preclude water from getting in, because if you get a slide full of water and you drag the thing in, it's coming in with it. But it will now have to roll off front or back, and it will not get to the gap in the surround and to the wood. So I think that's a win.